Welcome in to the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. On today's show, we will break down the top free agent targets for your Baltimore Ravens. Who could they potentially sign this offseason? Remember, they only have 5 draft picks, so free agency is going to be very important for this Baltimore Ravens team, but you still have to factor in the money you owe Lamar Jackson, potentially, and what limits you have on the salary cap. A lot of factors involved here. We'll break it all down here in just a few moments from right now. Before we do, though, quick question for you. I want to know, do you want more Ravens content? Because if you do, just a quick survey here, go ahead and smash that like button, and that'll let our bosses know that you want us to cover the Ravens more in depth with more daily news and rumors coverage. You want some live shows, maybe some more watch parties, whatever it may be, let us know. Hit that like button. We'll get started with today's show. It's going to be a year of change for the Baltimore Ravens. We already know that with a new offensive coordinator coming into place. And so with that, who are some of the names that the Ravens could potentially look at in free agency in 2023? I'll go over all that here in just a second, but let's kind of set the scene for you for this Ravens team. They already have some notable free agents in their own camp that they have to take care of potentially on bringing back. We know about Lamar Jackson, but he's not really a free agent because the Ravens aren't just going to let him walk for nothing. Either they re-sign him and get him a new deal, or they franchise tag him and they trade him. I don't think he's going to play on the franchise tag. Marcus Peters, Justin Houston, then there's Geno Stone, who is a restricted free agent. And with just 5 draft picks, including number 22 overall, you have to wonder about if the Ravens are going to consider more action in free agency than what they had previously, although there's some limitations when it comes to the salary cap for Baltimore on that front. So let's start looking position by position, the top players in each category. Let's begin at wide receiver. Jakobi Meyers is a guy I really like that could be a good fit for this Baltimore Ravens team, and still a very young player at that. More on him in just a second. Also on the list, Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman has spent the last couple of years in Kansas City, and he hasn't played maybe to his potential talent, but that could be a potential good value for Baltimore that you might not have to overpay, if that makes sense. Then there's Allen Lazard of the Green Bay Packers. Packers potentially in rebuild mode here. And if they are, I would think there's a good chance that they don't bring back Allen Lazard on that front. Also back to Kansas City. He's a little bit older, but Juju Smith-Schuster is also another option potentially, although I would expect the Chiefs to bring back Juju after the year he had as the number 1 receiver in that Kansas City offense. He and Travis Kelce have been a nice pairing there. And then there's also DJ Chark of the Detroit Lions, also another option for the Baltimore Ravens as well. But let's give you a little more information on Jakobi Meyers and potentially what he could bring to the Ravens. And quite the story. A guy that was undrafted in 2019 and signed by New England. Heck of an ad by Belichick. He's got great hands, but kind of just average speed, in all honesty. He's had 3 straight seasons with 700 yards receiving plus. And you wonder if he can take that next step and turn those 700-yard years into 1,000-yard receiving years. But even with maybe not being a wide receiver 1 in this Baltimore scheme and with the lack of receivers that they have, I think his production would be pretty dang good. They could certainly get a lot of use out of him. And I know what you're thinking. Well, the Ravens don't value the receiver position. Well, with a new OC, I sure hope that they're going to change that and pass the football more, because in order to win this league, you got to pass the football. So, would you sign Jakobi Meyers? Why for yes, in for no? What do you think about the idea of adding Jakobi Meyers? You don't get Jalen, but Jakobi in this case. I thought Jalen and Jakobi are supposed to go together. Let me know in the comment section why for yes, in for no, if the Ravens should sign Jakobi Meyers. Let's look at edge rushers now. Marcus Davenport of the New Orleans Saints is a possibility, and he is going to be highly coveted around the National Football League, as will Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney not a spring chicken anymore, but still a very talented football player at that. Melvin Ingram of the Miami Dolphins. He's been with 3 different teams within the last 2.5 seasons, from Pittsburgh to Kansas City in Miami, but he's also been productive with all 3 teams in that stretch. Robert Quinn in Philadelphia, although he's one of the newest members of the Philadelphia Eagles, we'll see if the Eagles do get a deal done to continue with him moving forward. But for now, he's going to be a free agent. And then also in Philadelphia, there's Brandon Graham as well. But let's tell you about Marcus Davenport. Here's a player that was picked up in the first round by the New Orleans Saints back in 2018. And, you know, in that stretch, in that rookie year that he had, he was an all-rookie team performer. And we've seen him kind of really just, be an aggressive football player, somebody that's picked up 21.5 sacks in 5 career seasons. I don't think Marcus Davenport has hit his ceiling just yet, that he still has another area of improvement here to his game at this point in time. Let's go to the defensive line now and break down that position for you, potentially for the Baltimore Ravens. Javon Hargrave, also in Philadelphia. I mean, so many guys from Philly. They've had a historically good pass rush this year. In the regular season, I think the Eagles had about 16 more sacks than anyone else did, any other team in the NFL. Daron Payne could stay within the DMV, going from Washington to Baltimore potentially. I like Daron Payne a lot. We'll tell you more about him in just a second. How about Dalvin Tomlinson of the Minnesota Vikings? Also, Dre'mont Jones from the Denver Broncos. And then there's Zach Allen from Arizona. Zach Allen, I think, could have a potential cheaper price tag than some of these other guys based on his skill level there. But more on Daron Payne, former first-round pick by the Washington Commanders back in 2018. And what we've seen from him, an all-rookie team performer, and getting better each and every year. In fact, this season, he's coming off the best season of his entire career at this point, with 11.5 sacks so far in 2022. And I guess the season done, so not so far. But here's a guy that is improving, that's making some steps in the right direction. Watch out for Daron Payne, as he's really just now entering his prime. So what do you think about Daron Payne? Keeping him in the DMV, but going to the Ravens. The real football team of the DMV. What do you say? Type S for sign, type P for pass. If you want to sign Daron Payne and bring him to the Baltimore Ravens, let me know. Got a great deal that we're offering Ravens fans here on the channel. It's a t-shirt and hat combination for $29.99. Get yours now at chatsports.com/Ravens combo. Here's what it looks like. It is snazzy, folks. You can represent Charm City, rocking out with your flock out. And, I mean, the hat and the shirt, it's a great deal. You're getting both for less than $30. Why are you waiting? Get this while supplies last. Available now for just $29.99. Chatsports.com/Ravens combo. To the offensive line is where we go next. George Fant of the New York Jets on that offensive tackle spot. You already know you have Tyler Linderbaum locked up at the center spot. But then you look at the tackle spot. Okay, Ronnie Stanley, he's getting paid a lot, but hasn't been able to stay healthy. He could use a partner maybe on the right side potentially. Some question marks. I think you need some help on that offensive tackle position. Offensive guard also needs some help there. Potentially you could go with Isaac from Philly, another good football player. And this guy, I doubt he's coming back to Baltimore. But he's arguably the best offensive tackle option on the market, Orlando Brown. I know things didn't end well with him and the Ravens, and I doubt he wants to play right tackle for Baltimore because he's still not starting over Ronnie Stanley. But Orlando Brown is going to be a free agent at this point. We'll see if Kansas City gets a new deal or not, and he kind of had a disappointing year in all honesty. Dalton Risner at the guard spot of the Denver Broncos. I like Dalton a lot. I think Dalton has a lot of potential. Former second-round pick. We'll tell you more about him in just a second. And then Kelvin Beachum from the Arizona Cardinals, also a free agent as well. Let's take an inside look at Dalton Risner now. of the Denver Broncos. And Dalton Risner, this is a guy, I think the best thing you can say about him is the dependability. In his 4 years in his NFL career so far, has only missed a grand total of 4 games due to injury. A former all-rookie team member by the Pro Football Writers Association, second-round pick, really good team guy. I mean, we've seen him get a little feisty, fighting for his teammates, and I think that's kind of what you think of when you look at Baltimore Ravens players, past and present, is playing with a chip on their shoulder of some sorts, playing with something to prove, and Dalton Risner, I think, kind of fits that mold on that front there. So we'll see if Dalton Risner could potentially make his way to the Ravens. Baltimore already knows that they have a really good running back in J.K. Dobbins. But then beyond that, the running back room is kind of sus. Gus Edwards, we don't know how much he has left in Baltimore, and he's a potential cut candidate. We've talked about that here on the channel. And so finding that number 2 running back, I doubt the Ravens are going to be signing guys like Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs who are looking for big paydays and be the number 1 running backs. But these are at least the best running backs on the market anyway. Those two, Tony Pollard in Dallas, who's looked a lot better than Zeke. I would think that although the running back position is one of need, that the Ravens are more likely to go the draft with this position as opposed to maybe some of the other positions. Miles Sanders, also going to be a free agent from the Philadelphia Eagles. And then there's Damian Harris from the New England Patriots as well. So there is a comprehensive look at every position of need and the free agent targets for the Baltimore Ravens, potentially with the best players at each of those positions. So before we go, name a player the Ravens should sign. Who comes to mind, whether it's somebody we talked about today or somebody we did not talk about today? Let me know in the comments section. Give me one name you think the Ravens should sign. We are your Ravens offseason headquarters. We got this team covered like no one else is with daily Baltimore Ravens coverage. Subscribe now. You'll be glad you did. We'll be with you all offseason long. We'll see you next time here on the Ravens Rundown.